All right, welcome to another episode of the Freezin for NFC North Podcast, episode 81, 2023 NFC North team MVPs, free agent targets. This week, we're going to focus on the Packers and Vikings. Obviously, with their team MVPs for 2023 season passed, a lot of great things happened for at least one of those teams. Plus, Justin Fields drama coming up, and I'm sure we'll have Coach T coming back soon as well. But here he is right here. And so, as we get started, I'm going to start with you, Coach T. Where can everyone find you as we get started?
Twitter, the Bears 360_ Coach T. Also on YouTube, Chicago Bears 360 with Coach T.
Absolutely. Well, and you had some great coverage. You were at the Senior Bowl as well, I believe.
Yeah, man, it was a good time. First time at the Senior Bowl down in Mobile. Actually got some roots down there. That's where my family's from. So it's a great time. Go down there and visit. Great city, man. I was shocked. My dad's kind of on the countryside. He's like country smart. So I expected to be like a one-stop like town, but Mobile is pretty nice, man. Y'all got to check it out. We had a great time. Got a chance to see a lot of good players down there to be, first, second rounders in the draft. Impressed by a few of them. I actually got down there kind of late. So our big name players, some of them were already sitting out. Latu, JPJ had a pre-existing injury. We got a chance to talk to a lot of good players, some Boston College players that former defensive coordinator will be at Green Bay.
Yes.
Good times. It was a good time.
All good stuff. We're definitely going to get into some of that. But speaking of Green Bay, welcome back to Fresh. Where can everyone find you as we get started?
You can find me at spinablesports.com or the Irrational Confidence Podcast, also on YouTube as well. And I'm really excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Speaking of another Packer fan who is not irrational, where can everyone find you as we get started, Trev?
Yeah, you can find me at RevTrev NFL. I just rebranded. I'm on YouTube, X, Facebook, and TikTok with the Freezin 4 crew, so it's exciting. And just did a video on what will the Bears draft and do with that first overall pick. So check that video out as well.
Anything with that right now, it's going to hit. It's just it's a drama. And we'll get into some of that a little bit later. I'm definitely kind of drained by that, but we'll have a resolution soon, and something we may also have a resolution soon on as well in maybe the next month or so. Vikings have a lot of question marks, and welcome to the show for the first time, Tony. Where can everyone find you as we get started?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Well, you can find me on the Skol Purple podcast. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and then myself personally, you can find me on X, Twitter at Steggy Stories. So I usually go by Steggy, so you're more than welcome to call me Steggy or Sad Vikings fan, whatever works for you.
Well, at least we got a Viking. We got a Viking this week.
We do have a Viking this week, and we'll definitely probably have to swap it. It might be a Sad Bears fan for a little bit here. I'm just sad for all that drama, but one person who is not sad this offseason for some reason is a seventh letter.
The
Where
one.
can we find you?
Seventh letter 4 on X, Twitter, and same OG on Facebook and Instagram, and top of the NFC North. You know how it goes.
I just had to, want to let hear you say that, because obviously we, we celebrate, and getting kind of, right into, some of the drama. We don't have to talk too much about it right away, but I kind of gained a little bit more respect for your guy Amon Ra on his podcast. He's really he was a little bit understated. I like that. It was interesting to hear him kind of just, ask questions. And I don't know, seventh letter, do you think him and EQ can rival the Kelsey brothers?
Well, not necessarily. I think they have a much smaller, situation over there, but they do appear as like fans. They almost like college kids in there where they still respect like the other players. Like they do. It's a lot of Bears and like kind of alternate between Bears and Lions players. Like Komet was on there this year. DJ Moore was on there. Herbert was on there this year, and Justin Fields today. And it was kind of good to see. Like you hear a lot of good things about Justin Fields, but I think I respect him even more today. Like, you know, just the human side. Like, I just want to know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to see all day because I know that will bother me. You know what I'm saying? They're going to pick.
Yeah.
You know, my wife want to pick another dude. You know what I'm saying? So I got to sit there and look at, you know what I'm saying, Morris Chestnut all the goddamn time. It's either going to be Morris Chestnut or me. And I'm like, damn, bitch. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna turn off my Instagram. I'm gonna turn off my face. I don't want to see it. You know, so it was kind of like normal. Like I appreciated it, and I like him because even like you always said, they said that he always prepares. That's what Montgomery said. He's one of the most prepared people I ever met. You know, I mean, a lot of times it doesn't materialize on the field, but you know that ain't always his fault. You know, man, I really truly want him to go somewhere where he's appreciated and they can maximize his potential because he's a really good kid and I know he wants to be good, and that's a very good thing.
I love his mentality too. And I hope you saw kind of a little bit why, you know, I'm still in on him. I mean, you know, people who say, you know, well, he turned his Instagram off, you know, or unfollowed because he's not mentally tough, did not watch that. They do not know him and what he's had to endure. You know, I can't imagine, you know, just what he's kind of, you know, gone through, and he's been gracious all the way, and he's still my QB1 right now. And I'm sticking with him. I don't know, Coach T, I think we're on the same wavelength. Or what were your thoughts after the podcast today?
Yeah, I thought it was, you know, it was tongue in cheek, man. I wasn't reading too far into it. Yeah. I was glad Amon-Ra asked the question, right? You know what I'm saying about the I mean, if you're going to play journalist, I guess, if you're going to do this, you know, do some of it right. So I thought it was great on him to ask the question. And I thought Justin was being truthful. Like, man, like, I'm tired of you know, like, we're all tired of it at this point. If you're on Bears Twitter, it's nonstop. I started to tweet today, right, and ask these guys, what do they do for a day job? Some of them, because we have 24-hour spaces running on Bears 20, like 24 hours. I went to sleep one night and there was a spaces going on, and I woke up and the same spaces was going, you know, about the Justin Fields argument. I'm like, what do y'all do for a living? Like, it's crazy right now. And then it's gotten nasty. It's gotten personal. Like, you know, there's been Twitter kind of friendships that are broken over the situation, man. So yeah, it's like, you know, even in the media, like even the media, DIY media, it used to be this fine line between, you know, traditional media and Bears DIY media, where we just had a traditional, you know, rivalry between the two, but that's intersected and cross-pollinated. It's crazy right now, man. So I just settled, listen, I don't want to, me personally, like, you know what I'm saying? It's positive vibes and positive energy, man. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to get myself so riled up, man, that I do something to say something. I can't reel back, right? So I
had and I was telling you offline and telling the other guys, you know, in our chat, I had you know, Bears fan threatening to beat me up at Bears training camp this summer. Like, that's you know, and then I talked to Miles from the Packers podcast, and I actually went on or at least kind of was, you know, listening to his Packer podcast to kind of de-stress. And I'm like, what kind of world is this, Trevor, where I'm going to a Packer podcast to de-stress from all of the Bears stuff? And I don't know what kind of world this is, but
no, that's a real thing. No, that's a real thing. That's when I said that when we came on, like, that's a real thing. I'm glad to hang out with you guys. It's a relief. That's what I told my wife earlier. I said, man, I'm glad to talk about another team for once. Like, this is crazy. Like, we want to fight. It's really a civil war. We want to fight our own right now. It's crazy.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about some different teams. And obviously, you know, one of the ones, obviously, I'm glad to have you on for the first time, Tony. And you know, as a Vikings fan, I mean, Vikings Twitter can be a little bit toxic and crazy at times too. So, And if
He's
something
been
comes with something comes up with this Kirk Cousins, I mean, I don't know. First of all, Tony, number one, are you in on Kirk Cousins going forward?
It all depends on the price tag. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing. And honestly, that's why my personal opinion is Kirk has played his last football in purple. Because I think Kirk is going to want to demand 2 to 3 years with at least 2 years guaranteed, probably looking at $45 million a season. And there's no way that the Vikings are going to want to pay that money. Like zero chance. They're going to want maybe 1 year guaranteed, but they're ready to move on. And the crazy thing is, he's going to find, I don't know if he's going to find that, but he's definitely going to find suitors out on the market. And so from just a purely business standpoint, I mean, Kirk should leave in a way. I mean, he should go get his money. He should go get paid, play for another team. It definitely puts the Vikings in a tough spot. But you were talking about Vikings Twitter. Yeah, that is the current war when it comes to Vikings fandom is you have the Kirk Alliance folks and then everybody else who is kind of ready to move on. Now, whether that's rolling with a rookie, whether that's bringing in a bridge quarterback and a rookie, I'm more of the latter. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you go with Jaren Hall, I mean that offense is going to look interesting. Before we get into that too, and I know Trevor's a huge fan, so you're not a Jaren Hall fan.
Me, no.
I loved watching him play this year.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure you did. Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Well, so that offense, I mean, is there an offensive MVP for you for the Vikings in 2023?
I think it's tough to give an MVP in a normal setting. I think had Kirk played all year long and the offense was running as it was scripted to do so, it probably would look a little different. I think if I were to have to give an MVP purely off of context of what happened last year, I'm going to go with Jordan Addison just because he looked like the real deal. In full disclosure, I was live on YouTube on our podcast for the entire first round, and I hated the pick. I was not a fan of the Jordan Addison pick, and he made me eat my words, and I said it time and time again on the podcast. So he looks like the real deal and somebody that we can definitely utilize going forward, no matter who's at quarterback.
Can we put this?
What's that? You think he can take over for JJ?
I was just going to say that. Yep.
No. But he looks like a phenomenal number 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, so that offense, Jefferson, it needs to be there. I think, for the offense to actually succeed. Addison is a great addition. You need to continue to build the offense, but the quarterback is kind of the most important. We'll see what happens there. What about on the defense? When you look at the defense, I mean, what would your defensive MVP be for 2023 for the Vikings?
If it has to go to a player, I'm gonna say probably Ivan Pace. I'm gonna go with another rookie again.
Wow.
Just because he was such a bright spot on that defense for a rookie. And again, another piece to build on because again, it was such a wonky year. But if I have to go to anybody, and it doesn't have to be player related, I would say Brian Flores, because him taking over the defense, I mean, my goodness, what a difference a season makes. I mean, these were essentially the same players. I mean, obviously you're going to have some turnover, but it was pretty much the same squad. And we went from being the 30th ranked defense to being, I think where we landed was 12, 14 at the end of the year. I mean, that's a huge jump. So if it doesn't have to go to a player, Flores. If it's a player, I really enjoyed watching again the young rookie, undrafted rookie, Ivan Pace Jr.
I got a question about the quarterback situation in Minnesota, because I've been on record saying that Jaden Daniels is overlooked in this coming up draft. He's actually, in my opinion, the most NFL ready quarterback that's coming out in this draft right now. He's making full field NFL read progressions, 90% percentile going through his full progression reads. You know what I'm saying? You think y'all can, look at moving up I don't think Jaden's going to be there when it's all said and done. I think there's going to be a swap in a lot of people's opinion with Jaden and Drake May. So Drake May be there.
Yeah. I was wholly unimpressed with Drake May, so I'm kind of with you on that. I watched a few of his games last year, and I know that's a very small sample size and it's unfair. But usually you watch these guys and you go, "Wow!" Like that even on an off game, you're going, "There's something there." I just didn't really see it with May. And again, it could be another eat my words moment. So I don't know. I could see the Vikings trying to move up. It's just what are they going to give up in order to get there? So I don't know. It's really hard to say. If it was the previous regime with Rick Spielman, I would say probably not. He was one that liked to move down and collect a lot of picks versus trying to move up. That wasn't really his style. But now that we have the new GM, Kwesi, Adolfo Mensa, I don't know. It's hard to say. They've only been through one draft.
Your analysis of Drake May is spot on with the film breakdown I did on my channel. So that's why I'm trying to give him to y'all, because I thought he was trash.
He's the same. He's the same as Sam Howell, the same as Mitch Trubisky, just North Carolina quarterbacks in the same system, putting up fancy stats and not NFL ready.
Yeah, and it breaks my heart too because I'm a North Carolina native. But I'm with you.
What if Washington picks him and they have three going into camp? They have 3 North Carolina quarterbacks on their roster. How crazy would that be? They pick up Trubisky as well.
Change their color to Carolina blue.
They might, and Carolina might get a team. So we'll see. Oh, I guess they do have a team. Well,
they changed their colors to
we got that.
Carolina blue. Somebody might try to storm the Capitol. No, that's a bad joke. That was a terrible joke.
It is very on brand for Washington. But
it is. So, Too Fresh, I want to bring you in here on this. So, obviously, as a Packer fan, you look at the Vikings. Are you worried at all? As we sit right now, are you worried at all for them for next year?
I mean, the Vikings are always going to be tricky. If Jefferson's back with Addison and Hawkinson there, they do present a lethal combination on the offense. Defense, I still think they have some room to grow because there was a lot of blitzing, but the back end was kind of weak. But that's a team that every random year the Vikings sort of show up and beat people down. So if they have a quarterback, if they can solidify the quarterback position, then they're in a good spot. But that's always the key. Dobbs is not the answer. Hall is not the answer. And I don't think Kirk Cousins' future is either. So they got to figure that out. But they have the weapons to be interesting as the season moves on.
So it's always interesting. Yeah. I mean, with you have different pieces, and as a Bears fan, I've hated this for so long because I think you can be average, but then it doesn't get you any of the high picks. And so Tony, would you rather the team be, I don't know, maybe 4-13 and be able to continue to build? Because you need a lot more draft assets. Would you rather that happen, or maybe just stick around the 8-9, 9-8, 7-10 range?
Yeah, I mean, I've made this point quite a bit. I mean, the hardest part about being always good enough is that it's really hard to build a team, and I think that was. In full disclosure, I know I forget everybody's name. It's my first time meeting everybody. I'm sorry. But when the Packers drafted Jordan Love and kind of went through all that, stuff. And then this last year, I talked to a buddy of mine and I said, "Oh, the Packers look like they might have a pretty good team." And he goes, "Yeah, I just don't know if Jordan Love is like that guy." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's still whatever." And he said, "No, I think this is better for all the NFC North teams because I think they're just going to be good enough to make the playoffs a bit, but then not good enough to go anywhere. So welcome to, mediocrity hell, because when you're good enough to never draft high, but you're not winning championships. And that's where the Vikings have sat for forever. And it's kind of killed us. And I actually was pretty impressed with Jordan Love. I'm not saying that was my take, but I just think that as much as I wouldn't like it as a fan, because I would rather see my team make the playoffs, it does benefit the team to kind of have some, to be frank, shit years. So that way you can have a top 5 pick every once in a while. Now you have to do something with it. You have to have a front office that's willing to evaluate well. You have to have good scouts, but at least you're giving yourself a chance. Doesn't mean you can't find value and all that. Yeah, as the Vikings season started to progress last year, I kind of kept reminding my fellow Vikings fans, like, yeah, I'm glad we're hanging around, but we're also now inching further back in the draft. And let's be honest, this team is not winning a championship. So, yeah, I would have rather as soon watched the Vikings kind of crash and burn last year than hang around as long as they did.
That's kind of where you were at for a while, wasn't it? Seventh letter.
I wasn't never really that good. Like we was all right, but we wasn't like we had a lot of first round picks, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, and then now, I mean, but you started to build. You had to be like terrible.
Oh no, we were terrible though. But last year we had that extra pick from the Rams, so that kind of helped us out because the Rams kind of stunk last year. But we've had high picks, so I just think we drafted.
Well, there's
really
a lot of question marks.
Crazy.
Oh,
that's the Kwesi thing. Kwesi's not.
That's
really the
huge.
best drafter, you know what I mean? And this year's got to be. It's probably going. If he don't draft good this year, he might be out the door because he ain't none of his draft picks other than like Addison and gotta. I mean, wasn't Pace was his Pace? Wasn't he like undrafted? Like
he was undrafted.
Yeah, so but his draft picks don't play. Like
well, yeah, Lewis Cine, like
Lewis Cine out for the year 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Lewis Cine is his first draft was pretty rough. Granted, they only had like 5 picks in the first year's draft. So, but the Lewis Cine is the black mark because you can't take a guy in the first round and you can't see the field. Now, for all of you that haven't watched all the Vikings games, that Cine injury was brutal. I mean, his leg looked like a wet noodle when he broke it. So I immediately went, we should get him back at some point. But is this guy going to be the same? And he really made his money, if you want to call it that, in college on his speed and explosiveness and all that. And if you lose that, it just was. So, yeah, it was predictable that I didn't predict that he'd come back and not be able to see the football field, but I knew there was a chance that injury was maybe going to be the end of his career, and that's what it's looking like. And that's huge. I mean, a first round pick that's going to basically be a complete bust. But
so do you have some other free agent wish lists, maybe positions? Obviously, quarterback has to be addressed at some point, whether in draft or free agency.
I think for me, to be quite honest with you, for anybody that's followed me on Twitter, I've had a very tumultuous last 4 months. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks and it was a good old time. But I haven't invested as much time in the free agents. But what I can tell you, I will be doing that at some point here, but what I can tell you right now, you already hit the nail on the head. Quarterback's going to be the number one priority. After that, I think my fellow co-friend Lions fan hit the nail on the head as far as the defense. The back end is still, they're very, very, very young. So who knows how they'll progress this year, but we still need more depth there. The other thing is an anchor of the defense, especially in the secondary, has been Harrison Smith. He's getting older, looking like he's starting to lose a step. Again, now you've got a guy, Lewis Cine, who isn't going to pan out. That was supposed to be maybe the heir apparent there. And so that's going to be a concern. The safety position now all of a sudden looks like a bit of a liability. So I think for me, when it comes to the draft, potentially free agency, I just don't know exactly who's out there. Those are the areas I'm looking at. Maybe some defensive line help would be nice because I don't know what's going to happen with Danielle Hunter. So there's a lot up in the air, but priority absolute number one is quarterback.
Well, a lot of things yet to come, obviously, when the league year starts as well. Let's go ahead and move on to the Packers. Obviously, a young team. Trevor, I know you were excited for and surprised for, how they did. Although you did kind of call it, right nail on the head, but pleasant surprise for the playoff run. So who would you say is the Green Bay Packer 2023 offensive MVP?
There's a lot of guys I want to name, but I just think there's only one name that rises above, and it's just because we knew that it was going to be turbulent. We knew it was going to be an up and down ride, and it was. But to see
I was going to say turbulent for a Packer fan is different for the rest of us, but keep going.
You know, it was a rough 5 weeks, bro. Just give me a break, okay? So the 5 weeks was awful, and but just tremendous year. If you look from the Detroit game on, Jordan Love was unbelievable. He turned the season around. He turned his season around. Everyone is now saying franchise quarterback, very confident with his abilities. It was just amazing. It's like you couldn't have written a better script other than, going to the Super Bowl. Like, you know what I mean? Like that couldn't believe. I thought his inaccuracy issues were going to be really difficult to overcome, and he changed them in. And of course, it's coaching. Of course, it's getting players all on the same page. But like, if we're just honest, like I'm not saying, I'm not even being a fan here. I'm just stating facts, right? That's exactly what happened. Like his season was unbelievable. So I was trying to think of like, man, everyone wants to say Jordan Love, and I'm like, man, I really want to say Aaron Jones or maybe even Matt LaFleur, or like there's some good players out there. But at the end of the day, it's Jordan Love, and I don't know who else you can say. I mean, obviously the whole wide receiver core is fantastic. Being so young and being so productive, I was shocked. So it was fun to watch.
Too fresh. Are you on the same kind of wavelength as Trev?
Well, first thing I looked at was Aaron Jones was in the conversation. 9 carries or more, they're 7-2. So obviously the team wins when he's getting the ball, but it's Jordan Love. I mean, from November 5th on, 26 touchdowns, 5 picks. You complete 69% of your passes for 3,100 yards. The way the team bonded, all the kids grew up. I was at the Raiders-Packers game in early October, and that offense looked horrible. And a month later, they finally started finding their groove, and it just carried from there. So it's Jordan Love, but that team as a whole grew up a lot through the entire season.
Well, I do have to give Jordan Love props. You know me. I try to find the digs where I can on Jordan Love, but he looks legit. Do you think, Coach, are you kind of thinking Jordan Love could be legit as well?
Thank you for teeing that up for me. Boo! You both are wrong. All three of you are wrong.
Ooh.
Yeah, I came with the smoke. The Green Bay Packers 2023 offensive MVP is Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, he loved Matt LaFleur.
LaFleur. Listen, the program that he had that kid on is textbook of what you do with a quarterback when you bring him into the franchise and you think he has the potential. It was all about, how they roll that offense out to him. The early on struggles was you don't throw your whole offensive playbook out there early. So he had a true program from. Matter of fact, he was actually the opposite of what we had in Chicago. Rather than just throwing the whole playbook and you just, I got new weapons, I'm going multiple. You can tell the first game when we played y'all, it was like he kept Jordan out of situations on third down. He didn't require him to make a whole lot of plays, but he slowly ramped him up and moved him up and put, kind of typical what I did with my offense, right? You add, when you got young guys, you add a little bit every week or every 2 or 3 weeks. And you say, hey, I have a target. By this week, we should be here. And what he's doing with that offense, man, like you can't even hate on it as even opposing fans. When you're watching wide receivers, run into spaces and the ball is just falling out of the sky and come into a space, that's scheme. That's all him putting them in the right places. But also the part that you give Jordan credit for is he has to buy in. He has to get in the playbook. He has to get in the film room and study that and know where the ball should go. So by season's end, where he's at that point, man, like I as a coach, I love it. Like it's fun to watch. Watching y'all in that game, watching Green Bay, it was fun for me to watch. I'm like, bro, you can't even hate on that. Like it was that good. So I got it. Hats off to Matt LaFleur. I'm a fan, bro. I am a fan of Matt LaFleur.
I was looking at the game, the Lions game on Thanksgiving. I said, dang.
Here they come again.
They got it.
I mean, part of it is the coaching, but the young kids also getting to understand being coachable at the same time. Because early in the year, they were two guys running the same route in the same spot. You know, as the year progressed, they started figuring it out and growing up. So it was a collective effort. But I think LaFleur has a control and a pulse on that offense. You're like you said, where he can guide and got them in the right spaces, kept layering on, didn't throw too much at them to overwhelm them and let them grow as a team and an offense.
I mean, so much to the point where I'm like, man, like did Aaron like get in the way a little bit? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I see that much.
He didn't want to do what he wanted to do. He took his own plays and ran with it.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna enjoy watching the games regardless of the result because of, you know what I'm saying? It's good football. You can't hate on quality football at the end of the day. Now you guys,
I definitely can.
Oh, you have that mechanism. Now you guys do a good job of that. You know what I'm saying? It makes me nervous to play y'all twice a year, but I'm not nervous to play Detroit though.
I'm not. Let's go ahead and talk about the other side of the ball then. And I'll start with you two, Fresh. Who is your 2023 defensive MVP for the Green Bay Packers?
Well, as a unit, we all know they kind of struggled for most part of the season, but there's individual players who stepped up. You know, it could be Preston Smith, Quay Walker, or Kenny Clark, but I got to go with Rashawn Gary.
Yeah.
9 sacks, 2 fumbles, 2 forced fumbles, 7 tackles for loss. Led the team in sacks and fumbles and 3 pass defense. I mean, the dude was all over the place. Kind of faded late, but coming off that ACL injury the year before, he was ready to go, and he's definitely the leader of the defense. But the other guys all were major compactors, but it's definitely Rashawn Gary all the way.
Are you on that same wavelength then, Trev?
I just think it's the feel-good story, right? So I wanted to say Gary, but when I started looking at all the stats, I just went with Quay Walker because I just think he's the general back there. His quickness, what do you have? Like 118 tackles. I believe he took one to the house. I think was it the Bears game that he did that?
Yep.
So that was a fun game, by the way, guys. So yeah, it was really great. I mean, I think it's either Gary or Quay. But shout out to the rookie defensive backs that had to play crazy minutes and crazy situations. I just think that we don't talk about that enough. Everyone wants to talk about Jair, and he missed a lot of the season with injuries, and he had a lot of controversy, but those defensive backs, I was super impressed. How did they ball out? I don't know, but if you're giving me one player, I'm doing Quay.
Tony, as a Vikings fan, who worries you most on that Packer defense?
Ooh, probably Quay. I think for the most part, yeah. I mean, and granted, I don't know. The thing about being a Vikings fan is I'm always very weary of our offensive line. So anybody that comes in the general vicinity of our offensive line, I'm very scared of. So they were a bit better. I would say this year. Yeah, I mean, really the year before is when I started to see it come together a bit more, but I mean, even that's another place that needs a little bit of work. It was hard to tell with all the quarterbacks we had this year. I kind of don't know how much I want to pin that on the offensive line.
That's a good point. Coach T, what about you?
I think you can pick any of the interior defensive linemen. Probably Preston. What worries me when we play the Packers is the interior defensive linemen because you can't really bully those guys around up front. You can't really move the line of scrimmage. Even though we have a couple good guys along our offensive line, it's not one of those games you can just go in there and bully guys. I know the other guys get more attention because of the pass rush, but can't dominate the line of scrimmage throughout the game. Then you can't, like they say, you got to earn the right to rush a passer, right? So if those guys are winning on first, second down versus the run, so pick a guy. You know what I'm saying up front. Preston is impressive. Who's the big guy?
Clark's
a monster.
Clark.
For years.
Clark and Wyatt.
Yeah. So when we think about like in Chicago, we think about Tevin just, Tevin just bullying people around. We know that's not happening when we play Green Bay. It's going to be push at best, right? So yeah, those 3 guys that play interior that 3-4 defense. they're a problem.
Don't
fresh.
you think though the narrative? See, no one's talking about the narrative that changed. So Quay goes last year. Everyone's like, he's a head case. He's not. He's done. He's a lot of talent. He can't do it. Look, you didn't even hear a thing about him this year. Not a thing. This guy just put his head down and played. And it's like, wow. So I like it that therethere's lots of options on our team. Just saying, it's great. And there should be. There's so many first round picks, right?
Well, I think going now from a 3-4 to a 4-3 defense, the defensive linemen they had there playing the 3-4, they were built for a 4-3 scheme as well. So you're going to have that transition be a little easier. I'm going to interesting to see, is Quay going to stay at middle linebacker, or if Campbell comes back, does Quay get moved to the strong side? And it's going to be interesting to see how they let him roll and let him play in that 4-3 scheme. But he doesn't have the ability. I think this year, taking the offseason, becoming more mature, not playing as emotional, because I'm a Georgia fan, so watching him in college, he had that same kind of emotion and kind of played a little out of place. Rookie year did the same thing. He's matured and grew and knew how to keep your mind, play football, execute. And you saw it come out, 118 tackles and then 20 in the playoffs. The dude's always run the football.
It's amazing.
So I didn't know Jeff Hafley is a 4-3 guy.
Yeah, he's 4-3. But they're going to have – right now it's a 4-3 base, but they're going to explore everything. Nowadays they get nickel and dime all the time. So you're going to have 2-3 guys. I got a feeling Van Ness and Gary are both going to have their hand in the dirt on first down as it ends. But it's going to be – you're going to see multiple packages and multiple schemes.
Yeah, they got the players. They have the players to play. I had an interesting conversation in at the Senior Bowl. I actually pulled Isaiah. What's his name? I was looking at
Duffy.
No, the cornerback from BC. Isaiah Jones to side from BC, cornerback that was at the Senior Bowl, and he probably didn't know I was a Bears guy. So I'm always looking for intel. I'm like, hey, what? I was like, I like to talk ball, so. I said, "Hey, what coach like to what does Coach Hafley like to run?" And he just spilled the beans, man. It was a good. If I was a Bears insider or a Bears coach, man, I'd have just recorded the whole conversation. I wish I would have caught it on tape. I would have definitely put it out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of single high safety stuff, cloud coverage on first down. He likes to run a lot of sim pressures. I mean, he was singing. I just wish I would have got it on tape. It would have been a good thing for Bears Twitter.
You wasn't on your team, bro. You should have.
I know. I wasn't on my job. It was a long night. Matter of fact, quick story. I had just finished having an exhausting conversation with Jerry Rice. That's why I had put my stuff away. That's why we were talking to Jerry Rice for like 2.5 hours. So yeah, it was a good night. I was like, yeah, you played at BC. What does your defensive coordinator like to run? You're a DB, so you know the coverages. And he was just single high safety, cloud coverage on first down and long downs, third down and first down. He likes cloud coverage, like sim pressures. I was like, wow. So yeah.
I feel like at the the combine's coming up, and I feel like that's kind of what a lot of coaches do, right? Even when they bring them in for interviews, they're asking them all those things. That if they're smart, they're going to be doing some of those things as well, bringing people in. And transition wise, Trevor, are you worried about the defensive coordinator at all? Kind of like or do you just think it's just going to be positive all around?
Who?
Trevor.
Listen. No. Joe Barry's gone, bro. There's nothing but the brightness right now. Like Joe, we have just improved our defense and we didn't do a dang thing. Like this guy is going to come in and he's going to light it up and we're going to win games because of our defense now. This is exciting days. I don't know what. Like, I don't know a Packers fan that's upset about losing Joe Barry. Like, honestly. Now, granted, he turned it around at the end and, great. And I hope the best for Joe. Honestly,
that's what he's always done too, yo. Like, he always done that.
Save at the end. Save yourself at the end.
Yep. He always do that.
Yeah.
What did he do at the end that was so what did he do at the end that was so different than
what the defense looked completely different? Like
they were playing more of a press man.
Yeah.
The corners were up on the receivers. They were blitzing a little more. I think actually the players said, "Screw it, we're just going to do whatever we want to do, and we're just going to play for ourselves." At that point, you win playoff games. You really don't care what's getting called upstairs. You make the calls on your field and get it done.
Interesting.
The only thing that concerns me that I would be looking out for if I were a Packers fan is it's not if you're going to keep the same players and transition from 3-4 base or 3-4 nickel, a dime, whatever your reduced personnel you're running, to a 4-3. It's not always the easiest transition for your interior defensive line to go from 2 gap guys to 1 gap guys. Like we saw that with one of our defensive linemen that did that from college. Actually, I made that transition in high school, and it sucked. It was terrible to go the other way, right? Which is, naturally you're supposed to think 1 gap penetration is supposed to be easier, but when you've been trained to, stand a guy up, read and react your whole career, like you have to build that muscle memory. So I would be on the lookout for that.
I think Wyatt's going to have more success because Wyatt played that 4-3. He played that 0 gap. I think he'll have more success in the 4-3.
I think he would too. Because I like Wyatt at Georgia. He was good.
So I want to talk a little bit, obviously, then, as far as, do you have any do you have any specific any specific free agents then that you would, or draft, people that you'd be looking at then for the Packers?
Overall needs, I think, like safety, defensive line, O-line, depth there, and corner for our key items I'm going to look for. I wouldn't mind bringing back Savage or Nixon, but if Rasul Douglas is out there, you got to bring him back. The dude has energy, wants to be in Green Bay. And then some just general free agents who have no connection. Geno Stone for Baltimore. If he's still a free agent, they don't bring him back, I want him as my safety. If he's not there, Deshaun Elliott or Mike Edwards dropping in there, being that single high, really sort of solidify that secondary. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on Chase Young if he doesn't go back to San Francisco. Put him in there, get him on a cheaper contract, play him end. Pipe dream, Chris Jones or Patrick Queen. But I think Green Bay builds the draft. They're not going to go out and explode and spend tons of money because a lot of these young players on both sides of the ball are going to eventually want contracts. They're going to have that money ready for them. So maybe pick and pull here, but it's really going to be built through the draft and not through free agency.
Well, I just want to welcome in Nick Whalen, a fellow Bear fan as well. I feel like we're in the Brady bunch here. We need a couple more.
It's like Bears. What the fuck
about Bears? And we're talking about Packers stuff. And Nick, what are you worried at all about the Packers next year, or are you with me and think they're going to be 6-11 next year?
I think they're going to be better than 6-11. They've certainly taken strides. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the new defensive coordinator, and how he's going to utilize some of those first-round picks that we keep hearing about. They have so many first-round picks on defense. How can they not be good? And then I just think they've been underutilized. But also, are they going to cut Preston Smith, Devondre Campbell? Is John Runyon coming back at right guard? There are some spots open there, and they don't have a ton of money. Is Aaron Jones coming back? Is he going to restructure? They're going to keep kicking the can down the road, which they seem to keep doing over and over again. Jordan Love's got to get paid. I think they're probably going to be a middle-tier team. If you look at some of the charts and stuff, I think they were the number one luckiest team in terms of drops, opponents drops, interceptions, fumbles recovered, things like that. I think that Matt LaFleur was in his bag this year. I think he was fantastic. That was one thing I think that I questioned was, is he a good coach, or was he just kind of riding off of Aaron Rodgers' coattails? But I think that he proved himself as a play caller, utilizing those young weapons this year. But I think that there's some pieces on that team that I wonder how it's going to be. And I think that some things were fortunate, I think, for them on their path. You can't think that end of the season run was who they are next year or the year after. Not everything is going to go perfectly. I mean, they lost to the Giants, so there's going to be ups and downs. I think they're probably middle of the tier team, which is probably anywhere between 7 to 10 wins.
Trevor, I'm going to give you a little bit of time to retort here on that. Lucky team or Super Bowl bound Packers next year?
I just think either take is just too extreme.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, we took advantage and we earned it. This is a league of parity, everyone. Like let's stop pretending like, and I know none of you are pretending this, but it just seems like in the thing, it's like nobody wants to give the credit, and no one. It's at the end of the day, we went in and we kicked the crap out of the Dallas Cowboys, a team that everyone thought
we did.
would make some noise.
I couldn't even watch that.
We were there with San Francisco. Like this is in the biggest moments of the year. We had to win those last 3 games. We had to. There was no room for error. We'd screwed up way too many times. So I think we've learned some lessons that's going to be invaluable going forward. We still have the same coach. We have a better defensive coordinator. We always draft well. So let's just there's a very high potential that we could be great. Now, I'm not saying we're winning the Super Bowl. That's my friend Matt Ramage. Okay. He's saying that. I'm not there yet, but I think we're flirting with the playoffs. And then once you get in, you can make noise. And this is exactly what Detroit did. That's exactly what we did. Everyone said the NFC North is going to suck. We were incredible this year in the way of we made noise. And people are worried about Detroit now. They're worried about Green Bay again. Only took half a season, but that's a fact. I think the Bears could be much better next year, going from a 3-win team to a 7-win team. And if you do it right, and I'm not saying whether quarterback they're going to go with, I don't care. If you do it right, you could win another 2 games at least, and you're in the conversation. You could win another 3 games and be a 10-win team. So I just think it's at the end of the day, you got to earn it. I don't care about this lucky crap stat. At the end of the day, and Nick, I appreciate you having the research. I think that's really cool that you knew that. But at the end of the day, we took advantage of the plays. We did it, and I'm thankful to be in that thing. I think it's been a fantastic year to be an NFC North fan, and I'm looking forward to next season.
Well, I wanted to get into obviously the news of the day. Today was a lot of the Justin Fields Instagram drama reaction, and I'm going to start from the outside looking in, Nick and Coach T. So I'm going to go ahead. I want to start with Tony as a Vikings fan. What was your reaction with this whole Justin Fields unfollowing the Bears and the NFL on Instagram? Any reaction? Would you be worried about Justin Fields on the Bears?
I mean, anytime there's weirdness, I think it's cause for, as a fan, it's cause for some sort of speculation as to what's going on. I mean, ultimately, we know that there's some friction there, right? And I don't know. I mean, I think that Justin Fields, to me, looks like a guy who, in my opinion, would have been much better served had he have taken the path as Jordan Love, where he was able to sit behind somebody for a little while. I also think it's been a disservice to him with the coaching that he's gotten. So I see talent there. I see something that you can certainly work with. I just think from a developmental standpoint, I just think he maybe has been set back. So I think the Bears would be, in some ways, foolish to move on, but at the same time, this is going to sound bad, but did you break them enough where it is time to move on and start fresh? I guess I don't know. That's probably better question for you guys that have watched every single Bears game, which I have not.
Well, Seventh Letter, I think you kind of said similar. You want him to see him kind of go on a different realm, and I kind of put this out on Twitter because obviously everything's. I think it's a slow kind of news cycle, so everything's kind of coming out. Greeny from ESPN said that if Justin Fields went to the Steelers, it would make them a Super Bowl contender. Seventh Letter, I mean, are you ready to say that?
Nah, I ain't gonna say all that. No, I don't think he'd make him a Super Bowl contender. No.
But he can be good somewhere else, you're thinking?
I think that he will be. I think Mike Tomlin will treat him right, definitely, and I think he'll grow and develop well there. But I don't think can Justin Fields win a Super Bowl? Yes. I truly believe anybody could. I almost went. You know what I'm saying, with Jared Goff. So Justin Fields is way more explosive than that. So with the right coaching and a real offense, like, yes, he can be really good for the Steelers. And what the Steelers have with they a better overall team than the Bears is right now. Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm not 100% sold on that. I mean, coach wise, I love Tomlin. I mean, he would have been my dream pick, a couple years ago. If the Steelers gave up on him, I love him as a coach. Just that stability. I just don't know overall if they have. I mean, Pickens is a head case. I mean, he's talented, but so he absolutely is. But you got DJ Moore on the Bears, who is better than Pickens, in my opinion. You guys know what I feel about DJ Moore, and he does everything he's supposed to do, and it's on the field. So I don't know. I mean, the question is, obviously a lot of people are saying, well, especially within the Bears Twitter, it's like, it's he sucks or he doesn't. It's just it's crazy. But then a lot of people are saying, well, if he goes to the Steelers, he could do good. And Fresh, I want to bring you on this one then. So a lot of people are saying, and even Amon Ra asked him about going to Atlanta. So Fresh, if Justin Fields went to the Falcons, would it make them a contender?
And the NFC South, yes, without a doubt. It's the worst division in football. They should have won it last year with the trash quarterback play they had. He goes down there with Pitts, Bijan, Drake London. You throw anybody else in there, that team's going to be in good shape. I personally think the Bears are screwing them over, and I think the Bears front office is going to feel the pain when they get rid of Fields and they bring in Caleb and have to start all over again. Jackson Smith and Jigmo basically said Shane Waldron, who's his OC in Seattle, was terrible. And that guy ruined Geno Smith last year. He's going to come in here and try to coach up Caleb now or Justin Fields. It's going to be bad. Let Fields go. Let him go to Atlanta. But trading the NFC could be really scary. And I don't really know if that's going to be the best move for the Bears, if they're going to make the trade within the NFC. But if he goes to Atlanta, they're winning the division. He's going to the playoffs, and he's laughing to the bank.
That's not what I want to hear.
You're
I mean,
Trevor,
be
happy for him, man. You're going to be happy for him.
Well, I did, and I told you guys, I do have my script written, and I will record it probably with very sad music. It is a goodbye to Justin Fields. I think a lot of people will want to see that, and me eating my words and everything. But I mean, Trevor, do you think Justin Fields can be a good quarterback somewhere else other than with the Bears?
Sorry, say that quickly again. My speaker just kicked out.
Do you think that Justin Fields can be a good quarterback with another team other than the Bears?
Yeah, I do, especially if he went to Pittsburgh and had an incredible coach like that. I really I like Justin Fields. I always have. I think he's a solid guy. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think the hate's been too big. You guys haven't had a good O-line. He's been running for his life for 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is. I think he's better than people think, but I am going on record, and I'd love to hear Bears fans' opinions on this, is I actually don't – it does not matter what you do at quarterback. I think you're going to be successful. I think if you went Caleb, you're going to be successful. I think if you stick with Justin, you're going to be successful, especially if you keep Justin and you trade that first pick and you get 3 first-round picks. If you get 3 first-round picks, like we're talking the Lions – and the Rams and getting all those picks, like that is something smart. I think either way you guys could be successful. And I know, like, I just would love to hear that. Like, if I'm off the rails, like, I know that's because it's so polarized now and it's so toxic. You have to be in one or two camps. I'm just sitting there going, I don't know. I mean, the only way they can screw this up if they do a Trubisky, right? That's the only way they can screw this up, in my opinion. If they pick a quarterback that's off the board, that they just highly value, that's just not in the conversation of the 1 or 2, whatever it is, I think that's the only way the Bears screw it up. So,
well, thankfully, Poles is not Pace, right? And it's proven from just the draft picks that hit from last year. So I think Poles is on the right track. It's crazy when you take break from listening to some Bears fans that are completely anti-Fields, talk about things. And you talk to or you listen to NFL defenders, talk about how they like Fields, and, other fan bases say how they like Fields or he'd be good on this team or that team. And so that make it make sense. He's not a bust. Does he need to prove? Absolutely. But when you look at it, then Coach T, what are your thoughts on what Trevor said? It doesn't matter quarterback wise what the Bears do next year.
I mean, for the sake of the team.
Yeah, I mean, it will still be successful.
For the sake of the team, it does, right? For the long-term success of the team, right? I have a little different perspective than I think most Bears fans do, right? I've been on record on the show saying I don't want us to make a Super Bowl run. I want us to take over the division and be a perennial contender to win the division, win the NFC, and go to the Super Bowl every year. So it's just not just in the conversation with me. It's just in those picks you mentioned, right? So if y'all ready for my dissertation on the topic, right? I have so many different twists on this topic, right? Because one, I've had people on the show that's close to the situation, and I've talked to people close to the situation, right? So on the Caleb end of it, let's talk about Caleb first. My biggest problem with Caleb, I believe Caleb is a good to great prospect, right? Coming out of that Lincoln Riley system, though, you have to consider the whole, Mike, what's his name, Washington State coaching tree, Lincoln Riley, Cliff Kingsbury, Mike Leach, air raid system. I've broken down ad nauseum. The offense does not translate right now to the NFL well. You have to take into consideration that the best guy is Patrick Mahomes, who Caleb stands go for and always want to attach to Caleb Williams, right? Patrick Mahomes. But then you have to take into consideration the Jalen Hurts, the Kyler Murray, the Baker Mayfield, and their path, right? And it's more of those guys than it is Patrick Mahomes. Now, my biggest concern on film with Caleb Williams is in the 70th percentile. About 75% of his throws are 1-2 read RPO throws. That's why he's running around so much. He's going 1, 2, I gotta go, because they're not full progression NFL style reads. That's why I said Jaden Daniels is the most NFL ready quarterback out there, because if you watch him play, he's going 1, 2, throw the ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, throw the ball. He's going through his progressions and he's playing in an NFL style offense. Can it translate? Yes. But the path to him being Patrick Mahomes will have to be very resemble Patrick's path, the same way he's going to have to come in and have to have some kind of mentoring and teaching and preparation. He's not a day one. He's just going to light up the league guy. The best thing for the kid is to get with Cliff for instant success, and they go and do their thing, because there's a natural familiarity. There's a natural connection there. He can take off and do his thing. If Cliff would have came to Chicago, I would have been like, hey, we're going Caleb. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? It's a match. It's all about system match with me, right? So remember the 75 percentile of those RPO throws. Now, I had
one second. Let's get back to that. Nick had something about the air raid system as well. He wanted just to.
Yeah, no, we're closer to Coach D. I'm actually air raid certified. I took that course with Al Mummy and stuff. So it is interesting. It's very different because it's based a lot on sight adjustments. So y'all, for like sight adjustments, that would be the receiver seeing if they're capped, right? Like they're not just going to run into defenders. So they're making adjustments, and then the quarterback has to see those adjustments too. So like that's why they only run a certain amount of plays. Like their playbook isn't huge, and they're always adjusting. So there has to be a lot of communication. And you saw Caleb's numbers came down this year because he didn't have the same type of weapons, right? Who maybe understood things. And when things weren't on the same page, it wasn't, hey, my first guy's open. Then it's a little bit of playground ball. Actually, Drake May was also in an air raid offense in North Carolina. So I get what you're saying. Jaden Daniels scares me a little bit, but in terms of the air raid, yeah, it's the run and shoot is actually similar. It's a lot of adjustments off of each other.
So
I,
this
A lot of
I was
option
saying-
routes.
I was going to
This
ask
is what-
add to the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So I always love talking ball, right? So
Mhm.
I asked Brendan Rice this, right, about the whole Caleb conversation when I ran into him. I said, well, you know what I'm saying? I threw the number out there with Jaden and Caleb. I said, so if I decide to go press man, more physical press man, Al Golden, Notre Dame versus USC, and I force you out of what you do well in the air raid system, what are you forced to do? You're forced to make full read progressions. People don't understand why Caleb stunk versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame went up, decided to get physical, play man press coverage, force you out of that stuff, that one or two options that my man's talking about. Now you have to play football, right? And then what do we have? 3 interceptions. And then so Greg Gabriel talked about this. He was never the same after the Notre Dame. Well, the tape is out, buddy. The tape is out. It's rinse and repeat. Oh, Al Golden kicked your butt. I'm going to take that same game plan and apply it. And everybody did that. And he
I'd say
He never showed up in big games at all in his career.
That's what worries me. You know, I mean, obviously college is one thing, but NFL is another. And this is why, you know, I'm still a Fields guy because, you know, obviously he's going to be going into his 4th year. He's seen a lot of these things. Obviously he's had different offensive coordinators, but a lot of the highlights, I don't know. I mean, it just looks similar. What Caleb's trying to do. He's smaller, and I don't know ball, you know, as much as, you know, as you guys. And that's why I love hearing, you know, all these different perspectives. But, you know, it just makes me nervous when you have that. And then you have the off the field stuff, obviously speculation and all that. But, you know, you just don't know. And, you know, Justin Fields, he has, you know, been gracious in the media, and obviously, you know, that doesn't necessarily always translate, but that's part of it, being mentally tough.
Can I bring it back to the Justin side? Because
yeah, go ahead.
Everybody's like Caleb. Now, Caleb, listen, that's my Caleb take. I think, again, want the best for the kid. Get him with the right coordinator. I don't want the kid to fail. Get him in the right system on the right team and let him grow. Let him have a Jordan Love type of trajectory where he comes in, you're here, and you progress and you go to where you're supposed to go. Now, everybody knows, it's well documented. Like I started on Luke Getsy 2 seasons ago, right? The trash he put out in terms of game plan, not game planning, install, right? Play design, install, game planning, play calling. The 4 pillars, right, of offensive coordinator football, the 4 like basics. He sucked at it, right? Nothing was good. It was poorly design. He had moments, but here's the thing for me, and so it's about the picks, but it's also about the football. I don't believe, and again, I've said I think we're 95% staying with Justin Fields, and this is the tape. And what's your name down there at the bottom? I'm sorry,
Nick. That's Nick.
Call me crazy. I you know what I'm saying? I just did this for a little bit. Offensive coordinator, you decide to keep your offensive line coach and your tight end coach. Your offensive line coach has the interior offensive lineman. Your tight ends coach has tackles and tight ends. He's coaching them primarily. So your offensive line coach is primarily responsible for the identity of your football team in terms of its run scheme. Nothing's going to change there. He's primarily responsible for most of your O-line calls, your pass protection calls. So if it's a scat protection, you sliding 3x2 to the right, it's a rain call, it's going to stay a rain call. If you're sliding to the left, it's a lightning call, it's going to stay the same. So the terminology is staying the same because you didn't fire your offensive line coach. People breezed over that, and it was like, you know, Justin, he's not going anywhere. Then you slap on top of that, Shane Waldron comes in. What does he have to install? Now, if I already have the run scheme in place, the terminology in place, what does he have to install? All he needs to install now is motion shifts, pass concepts, right? Terminology for pass game, and go to work. The shortest path was to keep your O-line coach and your O-line coaches slap a guy on the top of that to install a passing game, and you're off to the races. So all this about, well, he's not talking to Justin is not talking to Shane, or he hasn't talked to Shane so far, right? So that took me from early 70% to about 85%. And then down Senior Bowl, 2 days in a row, I just so happened to sit at the bar and talk to Kerry Joseph for about 4 hours total. I'm not going to tell you what he said. I'm just going to say I talked to Kerry Joseph for about 4 hours total at the Senior Bowl, right? And when you know ball, I don't have to ask him, what are we doing with Justin? I don't have to come directly out and say, hey, are we keeping Justin? All we got to do is talk ball. And over about 4 hours, I can get a feel for what's about to happen. I'm just going to put it at that. I'm about 95% on Justin Fields. I'm just telling you.
So
Justin
that's
Fields,
what
he's leaving.
Field should stay.
He gone.
And that's the thing too, Coach and Nick. I mean, you got some of these, Bears media guys who be like, I think one of them put out that, there's been no conversations about keeping Justin. And it's just everybody wants to be, break the news, and I think we're ready for it to happen either way. I really think those things that you talk about, I mean, I think you continue to build on Fields. I don't know. I mean, Caleb, yeah, I think you're going to be starting over again. I mean, it's going to be tough to say, okay, you got a rookie quarterback and to expect more than 7-8 wins because he's going to be adjusting and there's a lot more adjustments. So I don't know. I mean, when you look at this, it's going to be over soon. But seventh letter, you think he's gone?
Just to hear him today, like even hear him on the podcast today, he like, I just want this to be over with. Like he don't even know. Like if he would sound a little.
But didn't you hear him say he wants to be in Chicago? He wants to be there.
He does want to be in Chicago. I heard that part, but just like the other. No, I'm sure.
Listen, man, don't pay it.
You heard his happiest moment as a Bear.
Listen,
walking out there my first.
Don't pay any attention to that. This is what I'm gonna tell you. You remember? Yeah. You remember the short squeeze that they played in 2020 that they did to run the game stock up.
Okay.
I just want to throw that out there. Just think about it.
Listen, man. Yeah, he gone, man. He gone. They like to arm wrestle the father. Him. That's what they like this year. You can tell they don't like Justin Fields. They saw enough.
They got rid of the guy that didn't like him. They got rid of the guy that changed his footwork, right?
Justin Fields is going away. Prepare yourself. He's gone. They don't need the way they talked about him during when Bajan was playing. I knew from there. Nothing. Justin Fields has showed you nothing. You have learned nothing different about him this year. Nothing. You've learned nothing. He's the same thing from last year. Nothing's different.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like no. Here's the thing, though. You talk about it has to be clutch, right? And I know I've talked to Craig, Vikings fans. They talk about they're on their third string quarterback, but he was clutch when it needed to be. I mean, I don't know if Tony. I mean, would you be more worried about Fields or Caleb Williams? Oh, I think you're on. Are you on mute?
I said Caleb Williams.
Yeah. No, I would say, Fields is a known commodity. So I can't in good faith really say Caleb Williams because I don't know what he looks like at the NFL level. So I would have to say Fields by default. But yeah, I mean, Caleb would be interesting. I don't know. I'm a little bit, I'm not necessarily on as much of the Caleb Williams bandwagon as some people are. So I would say Fields for a few different reasons, but one, just I know who Fields is. I don't know Caleb Williams.
Fresh, you think they should keep Fields?
I think they should keep Fields. He's actually seen what an NFL defense looks like. He's played against it for 3 years. He has a rapport with DJ Moore. Caleb's going to come out there, no experience, pee down his leg, and it's going to create more problems. You're going to have the same media circus going on for years. even if it's a 2-year deal, you sort of buy out in the 5th year like they did with Jordan Love. You give him 2 years to prove himself. You build the team around and make a run, and then go from there. But he's better fit for the current team right now if you actually want to win as a Bears fan.
So Trevor, you know me and my stuff with Jordan Love and going back and forth with Packer fans. You know, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Jordan Love basically was a rookie." Absolutely, he was not a rookie. You know, first year starting, yes. 4th year, all of those extra 3 years, even though you're sitting, that matters, doesn't it?
It did for Jordan, and it did for Rodgers, and it did for Mahomes, and it did for Brady. I don't know. There's a pattern. I'll just say that's on my on my show when I did what's going to happen the first of all. My friend Peter, he said that you're going to take Caleb with the first pick, and you're not trading Justin Fields away yet, and he's going to learn. They're going to kind of do this little thing. I never even thought of that scenario. I was shocked, and I was like, I wonder if they will. I mean, it depends. If you get a first round pick for Justin, you probably going to move him, right? Like, especially if it's a mid round, you're going to move him. But could you just take Caleb and then have Justin there?
You could. I mean, technically, it's only a 1 year. You haven't picked up the 5th year option yet. You could just have a 1 year buffer and then move on from him.
What do you think, Nick, on that?
There's been so much said in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's
what angle do you want me to go at?
So
I've been waiting.
So what about with keeping Justin and drafting Caleb?
No, you can't do that. I get it from again, as a coach, I'm a coach as well. From a coach perspective, yeah, because you want to have, there's only, I think, 13 quarterbacks this year that started every single game, 17 games. Like, we know that's about 50% on average every year. So injuries happen. And then when you don't, and you have to go down to the next guy, as kind of Trevor was talking about in terms of, okay, next guy up, there's parity in the NFL and you have to kind of figure it out. Yeah, from that perspective, sure. But in terms of the circus, the quarterback room, learning the offense, how the media is, you have to separate. You have to pick one or the other. That's it.
What I don't like about the whole, the ones who are completely anti-Fields that are Bears fans, mind you, they talk about, that there's never in the history been a 3rd year or a 4th year quarterback making a leap. And I say, okay, well, Jordan Love was a 4th year quarterback. He made a lot of strides this year. So, I mean, what would you say to that, Nick, for someone who would argue that there hasn't been growth from a 3rd year to a 4th year quarterback in the NFL?
Well, he did make growth this last year as a passer. That's statistically proven.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
And I mean, part of it to me is like Chicago did him dirty. Let's just be honest. Like, how many young quarterbacks? Okay, hey, you have a new coaching staff. Let's trade away all our good players. Like Allen Robinson quit on the team. Like, we all know that. You traded Roquan, Robert Quinn, etc. You go to the bare bones, and it's like, all right, got to put on your Patrick Mahomes cape, and you got to carry everybody, which it didn't happen. This year they built it up some, but then you saw the Chase Claypool disaster, and Darnell Mooney just like disappeared. And it's, again, he's got one guy now, and Kmet's had some strides. I don't think Kmet is great. I think he's good.
It's top 5.
But you have your interior O-line is terrible. I mean, especially when Tevin Jenkins is out, and I don't know where Nate Davis was. I'm hoping that the old Nate Davis comes back. But to me, like, and he's playing with an injured thumb. So like, you can put all that into a thing and be like, I don't really think this is like even an average surrounding cast for Justin Fields. But in this whole debate of which one that you go with, I mean, part of it is his confidence is gone. And this contract thing is a thing, in my opinion. I mean, you can get a quarterback on a cheap deal for 5 years. That sets you up to make the playoffs, to make these consistent runs that coach is talking about there. Now, I also agree. I got to see what you're going to offer. You're going to give me 4 firsts or a package of 4 firsts for the 101. Okay, that changes things. So people will be like, well, it's just Justin versus Caleb. It is not, man. Like, we can go more in depth on this. You're telling me I can get, okay, I can get this the end with that pick. I can get a replacement at left tackle and upgrade if I want to. I'll get a wide receiver too. That changes the dynamic of a team, as we saw with Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, lots of other guys. You can support your quarterback and go, versus I think a lot of Bears fans think, okay, you can just take this quarterback. He's going to be Patrick Mahomes and he's going to put on his Superman cape. He's just going to carry you, because how many NBA franchises are like, we just have to wait for the next LeBron. And we're like, still looking at our watch and waiting for the next LeBron to come because he ain't coming. So
especially as Bulls fans, yeah.
You have to surround whoever it is. Now, again, with Caleb, it sounds like I might be the highest on Caleb in this podcast. I think he's got very special qualities to him. I think his movement area in the pocket is, I would say, Rodgers-esque is probably the closest in terms of his movement, his awareness, his ability to time out and be annoyingly just a little bit further away than the defender can get him and still make plays and be super accurate with throwing the football. I don't think he has the strongest arm, and people really get on me about that. Like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, like they have different level arms. I think he's probably got 12th to 18th NFL starter quality arm, which is still good enough. I mean, Jared Goff is below there and he's, making runs and doing well. But I think Caleb has some really, really good traits. But like with any young player or quarterback, you have to put that into a system. You have to surround them. Think of Tua. You added some weapons, and all of a sudden Tua took off. Like, you have to put the whole thing together. I do like the Shane Waldron hire. I think it's very similar offense to Luke Getsy. And you're blending together a coaching staff off of kind of what you're already doing, but he's going to call it better. He's going to layer things together better. I don't think he's top 5, but I think he's probably anywhere between 8th and 13th best OC in the NFL.
So Jackson Smith and Jigba, obviously he was very quiet, asking the questions, about Shane Waldron, but that could have also been, he wasn't involved in the offense, and that could have also been on him too. And maybe, didn't study as well. There's so much, as a rookie, especially with those other 2 wide receivers in Seattle.
What did they use? Go ahead. I was just saying they use 12 personnel. Like when you have to use 12 personnel because your offensive line is bad, then your third receiver is not out there as much. And he's a rookie. He's been there for 1 year. I mean, of course he's going to be somewhat frustrated, but there's the analytics show in terms of how good coordinators can elevate based on what's around them. And he's done well and had a top 13 offense, I think, in terms of EPA over his 3 years.
I love all of these layers to the conversation, because yes, it's not just Caleb versus, Justin. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and that's, obviously you guys know me, I am, all about Justin Fields, but if we can continue to get picks and just really set the team up for a long run at top of the North, I am all for that. If the Bears do go with Caleb, I'm going to support him no matter what, because he's a Chicago Bear. It's just, I think, the lazy takes of, okay, well, let's point out Justin's record and throw it all on him. And I think, coach, I mean, the wins and losses, obviously you want a player to win, but that's not all on the quarterback. Correct?
I like Nick. That's all I'm saying. I like the guy. Calling out 12 personnel and while your third guy is not getting the ball is next level analysis. Darnell Mooney, we had to run a lot of 12, 13 personnel because our offensive line sucked. Well, you're not on the field. You're not going to get touches. You're going to be upset. You're going to disappear. Like, when we have a conversation about you can argue with the guy that wants to have a conversation about Justin Fields' record, or you can have a conversation with somebody like Nick.
Well, in like there were times that Getsy didn't have DJ Moore out there on clutch plays, correct?
I mean, I'll say this. This is one of the things that troubled me early in the season, right? One of the things, and Nick, I don't know if you saw this. One of the things I called out with Luke Getsy is the design of the passing concept windows. He didn't design great windows. You know what I'm saying? So Justin's eyes would be all over the place. And I realized, I talked to Quincy Avery on the show, and I was like, talk to me about this window thing, because the way I draw my windows, of course, it's high school, but I like to draw smart windows. If I'm going with a 9 route out, I'm going to have a backside. I'm going to pull the quarterback's eyes to the window, meaning I'm going to design it in a way that the route comes into the window. He's not going all over the place. I just thought too many times we saw DJ on the backside, fourth read, over clapping his hands like, throw me the ball. And his route wasn't even in Justin's window. So it's not naturally progressing. You're an architect in the offense. Your responsibility is to draw smart windows. Now, fast forward, you go to CJ Stroud, first game of the playoffs. I haven't watched him all season. They showed a back end shot, the back view of CJ Stroud. They show his windows, and you see his windows naturally coming open, and he can release the ball with no player in the window, and all of a sudden a wide receiver appears in the window. That's correctly designed plays and windows in the offense. It wasn't there with Luke.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That, I mean, spacing, there are guys in the same area, which was annoying. That puts defenders in the same area, and then it gets interceptions and knockdown passes. But I think that's one thing LaFleur did beautifully. And you could say CJ Stroud too. You could see where Love would go through his progression on one side, then he would reset, and then all of a sudden you have your dig, your shallow cross, or whatever coming into view. And that just wasn't the case consistently in Chicago. Did it happen? Sometimes, but it wasn't consistent. Or it's third down and they're all going to the sticks. It's like, I know I get pick a side, but if the one side isn't there, then have the other side do something else to give it, because everything is timing, y'all. It's footwork timing, it's eyes timing, it's receivers getting open timing, and the things just didn't align with Luke Getsy, and that's why he's gone. And honestly, no one was sad he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much, same place where Packer fans were with Joe Barry. I mean, that's kind of it was time. And, covered a ton tonight. Definitely appreciate everyone being on. Obviously, a lot it's going to happen in the next couple weeks as far as when the combine comes up, but and we'll get to that as well a lot next couple weeks. But I definitely want to appreciate everyone coming on. And Tony, once again, as we kind of close, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I'm on the Skol Purple podcast. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and then me personally, you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever they're calling it nowadays, at Steggy Stories. You can find me over there. I'm on TikTok as well.
Awesome. Definitely follow, like, subscribe, all of that stuff. And Coach G, I can definitely talk and listen to you talk ball forever. I definitely appreciate that. Where can everyone find you if they want to get more of your takes? Yeah,
it's Bears_Coach T, Bears360 _Coach T on Twitter, and then Chicago Bears 360 on YouTube. Man, got some hot guests coming on pretty soon. So
awesome. And you got a lot of your Senior Bowl interviews and stuff going to be coming out that are going to be on there as well.
I think a lot of the content for Senior Bowl is already out. I'm holding on to some stuff to see what happens with the draft. See if some of the people I talk to. We can post draft, snag them for a quick interview, man.
Absolutely. And always appreciate you coming on as well, Nick. I know you had another podcast. I appreciate you kind of sliding in after that as well, after hours here. Where can everyone find you in your content? Yeah. Sorry I was late, but thanks for having us, guys. I always enjoy talking. I mean, because it's good to get perspectives from the other teams. That's why the show is really cool. I'm at _Nick Whalen on Twitter. The podcast, it's a Bears podcast, so some people here would be interested. It's a Bear With Us with Robert K. Schmitz. I also write at Football Guys for my fantasy content. Absolutely. Going to be looking for all of that stuff, and like and subscribe, all that as well. And always welcome and glad to have you back as well. Too Fresh, where can everyone find you?
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again. You can find me at spinnablesports.com or Spinnable Sports YouTube channel, and the Irrational Confidence podcast, all podcast platforms, as well as on Twitter.
Absolutely. Definitely like and subscribe, all of those places as well. And Trevor, we're on the TikTok. You're on the TikTok. So where can everyone find you and like and subscribe your Packer and even some of your hockey content as well?
Yeah, so for all my football content, it's RevTrev NFL. For my hockey content, it is Kempner Canucks. Just hit 1,000 subscribers last week, so it's going really well. And but I don't do dances on TikTok. No, I don't do that. In fact, I would. The 10 subscribers I have are followers on TikTok. If I danced, I'd lose them all. So even my wife would stop following me.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
You never know.
The fat white guy.
If Justin Fields stays with the Bears, I'll do a TikTok dance. How about that?
I'm sure
Let's go. The gritty.
No one wants to see me do the gritty. I'll try.
Right.
Seventh letter, where can everyone find you as we close out as well?
Seventh letter 4 on X Twitter, same OG on Instagram and Facebook. On top of the NFC North, until further notice.
You know who's coming for you?
Who?
The Bears. The Bears are coming for you. We're coming
Got it. Not yet, man. You got some time, man. Y'all got some growing up to do over there, man.
It's coming this year. It's coming 2024.
Y'all good, man. Y'all good.
Well, thanks again, everybody. You can find me on NFL Outdated on Twitter, X, on YouTube, on TikTok, and maybe in the next few weeks you'll be seeing a dance and maybe have people vote for what that dance is going to be. That might be a little bit fun. So appreciate it. Once again, this has been a Freezin 4 NFC North podcast. NFC North team MVPs, free agent targets, Packers, Vikings, plus all the Justin Fields drama to be continued. Thanks again, guys.
All right, man.
Hey, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.